Apple, they had a really, really good quarter. There's been lots of talk about, Apple obviously not being in the CapEx game, not being in the AI game like others.
I'm sure everyone's seen the little memes and the little graphs, yeah.
Well, Tim Cook, he came out and said, look, we are in the AI game. It's going to be personal. It's going to be private. It's going to be fast. It's going to be
I'm
on
so
device.
excited by this, as you well know. I think they are going to come out strong. I do. Is it John Turman who's the new CEO? He's the product guy. I just hope he pulls. It'd be great if his first time on stage is pulling something that actually bloody works. So I'm bullish on them.
Well, that would be fabulous. But I'd say even without that, Cook, he has certainly had a strong quarter here to report. iPhone sales up 22%. Greater China, which was seen potentially as a weak point, up 28%. They're talking about India as a massive market. So people are positive around Apple and the stock's going up. Now, why are we talking about all this? Well, back to memory. Because even for Apple, they're talking about memory being an increasing cost component. So if you look at the bill of materials of the hardware they make, especially on the computer side, well, memory is becoming an issue there for them. So not something that's holding them back, but it's just memory is pervasively the choke point of the global AI industry.
Well, Tim Cook, he is the supply chain guy. I'm nearly finished Apple in China, which is a great book if people haven't read that book. And I didn't realize how instrumental and how much he worked on the whole supply chain piece globally. And it's just it's a fascinating read. Do give it a go.
But it's interesting to juxtapose this with what's happening in the wider economy, because your stock markets have been doing quite well, and it may be a bit counterintuitive. I mean, we're talking about the Straits of Hormuz, and we're talking about conflict in the Middle East and rising inflation and issues around oil, and still stock markets have been doing well. And it's really because AI is powering these companies to perform so extremely well that is not just holding up the market, but actually pushing the market. They're true bellwethers.
But what people want to know, though, when will Wall Street meet Main Street? I think that's the challenge that most people have, because you can't have this forever growing market state when the real world hasn't quite caught up and inflation is gonna bite backsides. Because all the reading that I've been doing about how the Hormuz is actually going to affect us, it's not going to come this year. It's going to come next year. It's when energy prices will go up, fertilizer and everything will start to impact the real world. And I don't know how that's going to marry. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
I think it'll happen before then. I think you're going to start to see inflation trickle into inflation sooner if there isn't a resolution. And obviously, if we want Main Street to do well, the general economy has to do well. And that is back to all the things we know. You've got to have well-functioning capital markets. You've got to have well-functioning commodities markets. You've got to have access to energy. We could have well-functioning labor markets and kind of all the hard work. Even the magic of AI can't wish away all these other things. But it's interesting that, in a situation where one would have thought, look, it could be a bit dour and markets could be down. Actually, they are in many ways up.
Yeah. Well, let's stay in that world. I want to talk about frontier labs and politicking. We've had a bunch this week. We've got China who's blocked the sale of Manus to Facebook. Now, you might know this, Mads, but I can't quite work out how the Chinese state has got such tendrils into a Singaporean company. It also felt a little bit tit for tat-ish. So the Americans accusing Chinese labs of industrial scale distillation, i.e. how can DeepSeek do so well so quickly without Anthropic? So therefore they blocked the sale of Manus. I don't know if there's any truth in that. It felt a little bit tit for tatty.
You're right. People might recall Manus was one of the first agentic AI companies coming out last year, and it was a Chinese company. And they made a beautiful front end, agentic front end. And people said, oh, great, is that Chinese AI? But it was all Anthropic under the hood, right? I mean, it's because they'd really thought about how can we make this not just something cheap and cheerful, but actually use the best components all the way up the stack to build a delightful user experience. It truly looked like something that had come out of Silicon Valley. Now, the founders quickly made a decision to say, look, we are going to relocate or redomicile from China to Singapore, gives us more optionality.
Which is common, right? That's quite a standard path for some large Chinese organizations, I hear.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen it that much in sort of the startup scene yet. There's certainly, this is part of what's leading to some of the issues you you raise. What then happened was he had Benchmark invest into Manus, which is a kind of really U.S. Leading venture capital firm putting money back into to effectively the Chinese startup ecosystem was something that people have been pulling back for a while, but it was felt, look, it's a Singaporean company now, we can put money in, and then there was a sale to Meta of that business. Now, as you ask, how can China assert that kind of legal supremacy, a legal sovereignty over an entity that's now Singaporean? Well, I think a couple of things. Basically, what the Chinese are saying is that the IP was relocated and transferred to Singapore without approval and is subject to export controls. And there's a travel ban, there's an exit ban on the Chinese national founders. And so when you block the transfer of the IP and you block the movement of the people, it is hard to sell an AI company. So, wouldn't
that have come up in DD? Wouldn't that be a possible outcome if you're a large US venture firm looking at a deal like this?
Well, the question is how much is retroactive. I think you talk about whether this is tit for tat around distillation. I actually think that the parallel here, the analogy is NVIDIA. It's export controls both ways, right? The Americans are saying, listen, you can't buy our best chips. The Chinese are saying, well, you can't buy our best engineers.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And so...